Welcome, Roger Scheck, to the Business Spotlight. My name is Mary Ann Hauser, and I'm a senior partner here at Action Coach in Central North Carolina. The name of our firm is Serendipity Action Coach. And today, as my guest, I have Roger Scheck, and he is with Roger Scheck Construction. Today, we're going to be talking about his business and his journey to business ownership, some of the challenges that he's had, best practices, and we're going to share a peek into what it's really like to build and operate a business. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to like and subscribe and get notifications when we drop new conversations just like this one. So Roger, welcome and thank you for being here today. Please just start by giving us a brief overview of your background and tell us a little bit about your business.
I am a North Carolina licensed residential general contractor, and I actually was an artist before this. I grew up doing this stuff with my dad and basically hated every minute of it and didn't pay attention, but decided I wanted to go to film school. And that's how I got into North Carolina. Is I went to it was called NCSA at the time, not UNCSA, and got a degree in cinematography. Decided to go to LA right as the economy collapsed I graduated in 2006. So that's when everything was vaporizing and the only jobs were reality TV. So I spent 8 years in reality TV and got to a point where I wasn't happy and got out of it, went back to photography, which is how I got into film. And a very good friend of mine who was in reality TV asked me, I had just bought a house. She asked me if I wanted to be on TV. And I told her, absolutely not. Let me ask my wife. So I asked my wife, and of course, we were on House Hunters Renovations, season 2, episode 8, I believe. You can still get it on iTunes. And my dad had always wanted to be
season 2,
episode 8.
Okay, I'm going to make sure I watch that. Yes, and continue.
So my dad always wanted to be a general contractor, but he had a really good job with Texaco. So we grew up doing roofs and additions and sheds and siding and all kinds of stuff. And so when we got on the show, they remodeled my kitchen, and my wife asked me if I really knew how to do this stuff because she wanted to remodel the bathroom. So I kind of fumbled my way through my memory, and YouTube was hot or just upcoming at the time. So I, watched some YouTube videos and remodeled the 2 bathrooms. My dad came out to be on the show and saw the work and said, if this film thing doesn't work out, you can move back to North Carolina and become a general contractor. And I told him, absolutely not. That'll never happen. And in less than 2 months, I had listed my house for sale and bought 2 foreclosures in North Carolina and was moving back here to start flipping houses.
What changed your mind?
I don't know. I gave up on the film industry. Everybody, I wanted to be Quentin Tarantino, and so does everyone else. And there's a lot of great artists, and I know some phenomenal artists that were way better than me that are still fighting to become Quentin Tarantino, and it's just hard. I got sick of being a starving artist, essentially.
So now you get to create in new ways, right?
I do. And the funny thing is, I had a revelation a couple years ago that it's very similar to directing, which is what I did and what I wanted to do. So, you're just, instead of a set designer and a cinematographer, you've got drywall guys and painters and flooring guys, and you're still putting a picture together. It's a lot of fun for me.
Awesome. So just so we can set the stage for our listeners, generally speaking, what does the structure of ownership look like in your company?
It's just me. I am a sole proprietor, LLC, getting ready to convert to LLC, taxed as an S corp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very smart decision. A lot of my clients actually have questions about why should I do that, and I'm not going to try to give all the answers my accountant would give, but it is a very good idea. And so, are there any outside investors? Did your dad invest, or did you just bootstrap it with those first 2 houses?
So The economy kind of turned around where I was living in California, and I instantly had $100,000 equity in a house that I had less than a year. I took that money and basically started my business here, which was probably a big deciding factor, was the fact that I suddenly had some capital and wasn't going to be starving anymore.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of people go to California and starve. By the way,
Yes.
my son went to UNCSA. He was a percussionist. He studied percussion and he loved his time there. But he too has left the music industry and now does Microsoft Dynamics software consulting. Um, so the role you play, you mentioned it a little bit that you're the, sort of directing the show, building a house. Is that your key role? Are you really active in the business all the time, or are you more on the inside planning and growing the business?
I'm project managing. Right now I'm trying to keep my overhead down, just starting back out. After leaving Linwood Builders, I really wanted to keep my overhead down, so I'm not hiring employees. I'm going to stay small and try to do enough to where I can still manage quality control, but not bring anyone else on.
So how many hours then do you spend working in the business, and how many hours do you spend on the business doing strategy and planning and finance and some of that?
I don't work more than 40 hours a week. I made it my mission when my son was born to, I don't leave the house before 8 and I'm always home by 5. The reality is I usually don't leave till 9 and I get home around 4. I do not work weekends. I do not let my subs work weekends because that just means I'm going to be working weekends.
Mhm.
And I'm very upfront with my clients about that, about the work-life balance with my family.
Awesome. Yeah, it is so important. So let's move into what makes your business so special. Who primarily does your business serve?
Residential homeowners, remodels, additions, a little bit of new construction, but primarily remodels.
Awesome. And how would I know if I'm a good fit for your product or service?
Um, Somebody that's looking for quality and understands the cost of construction, that's our biggest hurdle right now is the HGTV. I can take a load bearing wall out for $2,000 when it's actually 18 or $19,000. So that that displacement of reality, especially after COVID, when things are double and triple what they cost and they're not going down, the reality of construction and what it actually costs. In North Carolina, it seems to be more expensive because we don't have as many trades, so we pay the premium for trades. Whereas in New York and LA and Miami, there's 600 tile guys. You could throw a rock and hit one. Here, I use one tile guy because he's the best tile guy around, and I just won't sacrifice quality. And I've seen what the cheaper tile guys do, so I won't put my name on it.
Gotcha. I actually coached a tile guy. Maybe when we're done, I'll ask you who it is. So you said that, you give me a little bit about the quality, but what truly, because so many people say quality is their main point of difference, what truly makes you unique beyond quality?
Probably how much I care. You know, I am more interested in educating the homeowners so they don't hire someone that comes in with a cheaper bid and then they end up spending more because they change order them to death, or they leave the job because there wasn't enough money, or they cut corners because they didn't bid high enough. If you follow me on Instagram, you're going to see that I give away information. I'm not trying to book work on Instagram. It's about entertainment. And my primary objective is to give homeowners all the information to make an informed decision.
I'm so glad you said education, because after watching some of your Instagram, I was like, that truly is your unique selling proposition. You are out there as an influencer in the field, and that makes a huge difference for So when the audience that's watching this interview, I encourage you to go out to the Instagram world and to I don't know if it's posted on YouTube, but there's lots of information about Roger and his work ethic, and I think it would be a really great thing for you to do. So how would you say your competitors then compare with you?
So my history is I started Roger Scheck Construction, and I was just a house flipper. I was going to just flip houses, and I started this Facebook fan page so my friends and family could see what I was doing. And I grew that Facebook fan page into $1 million business with $2,000 a year in advertising. And I was approached by the guy I partnered with over at Linwood Builders and spent 3 years there growing Linwood Builders. And, they didn't really like the social media thing. They didn't like what I was doing on social media. And that's one of the reasons they bought me out, and I went back out on my own. And I hit social media 10 times harder after that. So I forgot what I was saying.
We were talking about how you compare to your customers.
Oh, there's this
Competition, rather. I'm
mystique
sorry.
about general contractors that I am the general contractor. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. Why are you questioning me like I'm a king or something? And I really try to demystify that. I want the homeowners to know everything. If you have a question, ask me. I will tell you. I will give you the decisions. The ultimate decision is yours. Or I will give you the choices. The ultimate decision is yours. But I will give you all the information. And I don't think a lot of general contractors do that, especially on social media. One of the biggest mistakes I see on social media is people treat it as a selling platform versus a entertainment platform. And if you Google me, you'll see my Google reviews, but you will never see me post a review on Instagram because I'm entertaining there. I'm not selling.
I actually, we use a phrase for some of the things that we do here. We call it edutainment. So
Yes,
it's education and entertainment kind of combined in one, right?
absolutely.
So since you're so good at educating, let's just shift gears a little bit, because most of the people who watch this are going to be, or not most, but many of the people who watch this are going to be other business owners. So I'm always curious as to what successful business owners are doing when it comes to sales and marketing. So what percentage of your monthly sales is typically invested back into marketing?
It's a gut thing. I don't really have it broken down budget wise, but approximately $5,000 to $10,000 a year, and it's 100% dedicated to social media because 95% of my business comes from social media. The other 5% is referrals.
Awesome. And then how many different marketing strategies do you use on social media? And I probably wouldn't have asked that question last week, but I just spent 2 days in a digital marketing course and I was overwhelmed with the number of different digital marketing strategies that are out there. So, what are the different strategies you use if we're just going to limit it to digital?
It's a little bit of a moving target. It's a lot of experimentation. I am a huge Gary Vaynerchuk fan, known as Gary V.
Mhm.
So I listen to his podcast constantly. I also follow Brock Johnson on Instagram because he's very up to date on what Instagram is changing, what it's doing, how to best utilize it, things like that. But I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk is my North Star. I've followed him for 5 or 6 years, and I just keep doing what he tells me to do, and it works.
Awesome. My mentor and founder of Action Coach is Brad Sugars, and he's got a really good podcast for business owners on how to grow your business and scale your business without sacrificing time. And he's my mentor and coach as well. So I recommend his podcast.
Okay.
What's the number one like post or marketing strategy that like actually skyrocketed? Do you have one? Like I in the course yesterday, one of the guys said he had this one post that actually had more hits and more traction, and that really launched he was an influencer, it launched his influencer business. Is there one tip or trick on digital that you think has worked really well for you in the past?
Mine's industry specific. Pointing out what was done wrong on a job so homeowners know what to look for. I have highlighted 3 different jobs I needed to fix because of the tile work being so poor, the waterproofing, things like that.
Yeah, I saw the one about the basement that had mold, so I was watching.
Those get by far the most traction.
Yep.
Showing
Somebody
people
who can solve a
what the
problem.
cheap, yeah, showing people what the cheap bid gets you. That is by far what has worked the best.
Awesome. Um, and so what approach do you take then for tracking the leads? Things come in, digital leads come in, and sometimes it's just a comment in a post, sometimes it's a phone call. How do you track your leads and keep them organized?
Um, in my cell phone. Anytime I get a phone call, I ask them where they got my information. It's always a referral or Instagram. And I whether I talk to that person, whether they hire me or I look at the job or not, I always put their name and number and some kind of note in it to remember who they are. Um, and that has actually served me very well because I had a guy call me. Um, I talked him out of doing a job because uh, I didn't feel like it was going to be cost effective for him to do it. And I laid that on the line. And a year later, I saw his name come up and it said Home Edition Buena Vista, which is where it's located. And I was like, I remember this guy. And he said, well, I'm ready to do something different. Can you come back? And that turned into a legitimate lead. But the big mistake with social media is people want instant gratification. And it's not going to happen that way. It's an investment over time. And I've been doing this for 6 or 7 years now. And I still get calls from people that say, look, I've been following you for 6 years, but now I have enough money to do my bathroom. So that was a big thing that my partners didn't understand is it's a long game. Social media is a long game. Building a brand is a long game.
Yep, it absolutely is. Marketing is not, there's hunting and there's farming, and what you're doing is farming. You're planting seeds with every single video and post. It's a seed, and it really starts to flourish after a year, 2 years. And it's amazing how many seeds I've planted, 8 years ago that are also coming back.
Absolutely.
So, as we come sort of to the close of our interview, tell me, as you look back on the journey so far, what has been the most memorable roadblock or hurdle that challenged you and that you have overcome?
Taking on business partners. Um, it wasn't a mistake. I value the time I spent with them. I learned a ton. So, not having grown up in a construction business, but more of a hobby watching my father, I didn't have all the business side of it. So, being inside of a business and seeing how that works was beyond valuable because I can do today what I do because of that. However, there were a lot of disagreements on how that business should grow and how it should be promoted and things like that. So it was a double-edged sword.
Mhm. Partners are hard. I've seen so many partnerships. The advice I give is, if you're going to take on a partner, write the divorce clause, because separating from a relationship can almost be harder than separating from a personal relationship.
Yeah,
Uh, Thanks for that. Thanks for being so honest about that.
absolutely.
Um, so you've already answered the second question. What impact did this have on the growth of your business as a business owner? And I guess it's just the education, right? The business education that's so important.
I couldn't do what I'm doing today without that education. Yes. So it was very, very valuable there were definitely pains there, but looking at it from a broader perspective, I can see the value that it brought me and the growth that I gained from it.
Mhm. So if we look forward, I know you said you've got some really tight restrictions because family is the most important thing in life, right? And that's why we build a business, is so that we can take care of our family. Where do you see the business in the next 3 to 5 years?
Um, Getting to clients that want bigger jobs, you know, whole house remodels, big additions, things like that, where it's not just one small bathroom. You can spend as much time on one bathroom that costs $40,000 as you can on an addition that costs $400,000. So that's how I'm going to grow the business. That's how I've seen the business grow in the past.
Yeah, that's awesome. It takes just as much time to service a small client as it does a big client. You're absolutely right. So what has been your approach to goal setting, and how many goals do you set at a time? How do you document them? What's the time frame?
You know, I'm a huge Tony Robbins fan, but I'm not a great Tony Robbins executor. I've never been one of those guys that writes it down in a journal or sets hard goals or anything. I just go day to day and try to do the best I can with what I have and improve along the way. I try to learn something every day. You know, if I haven't learned something in the day, I feel like I didn't work hard enough. So I don't have a problem with making mistakes, as long as I make them once.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, there is no failing, there's just learning, right?
Yep.
Um, so another question about running the business for some of the other business owners. One of the challenges I hear from so many people in the construction and contracting business or industry is that, hiring and retaining team members, even subs, is one of the hardest things. So do you have any tips or advice for other people in the contracting field, when it comes to hiring and retaining team members?
Absolutely. Fast pay makes fast friends. The biggest contingency between myself and my partners at Linwood Builders was the pay schedule. Um, a lot of the best subs that exist are small guys. They can't float a 30-day net pay. They can't. So I pay my subs immediately the day they finish. Not even, I don't make them wait 7 days. And they will literally drop another subcontractor or another contractor's job if I call them and say, look, I need you today. They will leave that job and come to mine. The other thing is loyalty. I have one plumber. I do not question his price. I have had three or four, and the prices were all close enough to where I trust him, he trusts me, and he's my plumber. Same thing with the tile guy, and that's just the way I operate. Is I don't shop for the low bid to try to get the job. It costs what it costs, and the quality I deliver is what you're going to get. I don't care if it's a $30,000 bathroom or a $300,000 whole house remodel. You're going to receive the same experience. And part of that is taking care of your subs, then they will take care of you.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's great advice. So we have certainly covered a lot of ground in our conversation today. And so for those of you watching, I highly encourage you to save this and come back a few times for an additional watch. I also encourage you to look up Roger on social media and watch some of his videos. They are absolutely amazing. I spent, after hours last night, I think I spent about 20, 30 minutes watching several different videos, and I'm not going to ever pick up a hammer, but boy, there was a lot of really good nuggets in there. So as we begin to wrap up, I just have a few rapid fire questions, quick top of head, answers for each. And we're just about at the end. So what is the key to success for you?
Take care of your customers. Treat
What's
people the
your
way you want to be treated.
Beautiful. What's your one piece of advice for other business owners?
Post more on social media.
Excellent. What's one book that you're reading now or have read most recently that you would recommend to other business owners?
Um, Boy, there's so many. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is probably the most important book in my life, I think. That started the journey into financial education.
Awesome. And if you had one area of your business that I could sprinkle magic fairy dust on to immediately improve tomorrow, what would it be?
Oh man, more. I don't know. I'm so happy with my business. I don't know what would improve it that much.
Well, that's I think that might be the first with that answer. There's always somebody who has one. And before we get into the final question of the day, how can others learn more about you or your company? How can they get in contact with you? Can tell us your handles, your social media, how to follow you.
So on Instagram and TikTok, it's my name, ROGERSCHECK. Facebook is Roger Scheck Construction, and you're welcome to email me, call me. My phone number is online. You can get a hold of me. Just go to Instagram. It's all there. And I love talking and giving people advice and educating people. And I had a guy ask me how I knew so much, and I told him because I've made so many mistakes. So I love if you don't make the same mistakes I do, if I can share that with you, I'd be happy to.
That's awesome. Okay, so your final question is, what is right now inspiring you more than anything today?
My family. I go out there and do this to take care of them.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. This has been a great interview. That's all we have for today. Look for us on our YouTube channel, and all the information will be down below.